I've never really understood the need for bottled water. It's bulky, it looks ugly in store, and we can get it out of a tap, can't we? Now, I remember growing up, there being fountains in the playground at school where you could take a break from the mayhem of playtime and top up on a bit of H2O before piling on back into whatever schoolyard activity at the time floated your boat. Then suddenly, seemingly from nowhere, came not water out of a tap, but water out of a bottle. I seem to remember it starting with brands like Perrier, which, to its defence, was more of a carbonated version, and unless you were bouncing around the playground at terminal velocity, it was very difficult to put bubbles in your water back then. The first time I actually remember seeing bottled water was on a family holiday to Mallorca. We'd been advised by my aunt, whose apartment we were staying in, not to drink the local water, as it could make you very ill. That seems like a very clear rationale and reason for there to be water available in bottle rather than on tap. So whilst that may make sense in certain corners of the earth, do we really need bottled water in developed countries? Is it actually serving a need, or are we being served quite possibly the greatest marketing ploy of all time? So this week we'll be looking at the bottled water fixture and how some of the brands try to differentiate themselves. Clearly, there are certain situations where locally sourced water may not be clean, but we're lucky that in most instances tap water is easy to obtain and completely safe. So why do we have all of these brands taking up all of this valuable retail space, requiring logistics that cost much more than the infrastructure already in place to transport it from one place to another? Well, from a consumer point of view, we would expect that's because bottled water offers us something different. And herein lies a potential issue. Successful brands need to explain what they offer that the competition doesn't, why and how they add value. Looking at the bottled water aisle, it does anything but. The shelves are strewn with plastic bottles encased in even more plastic shrink wrap, which tell us little more than the fact it's mineral water. Try as you might, if your whole brand proposition is rooted in naturalness, with billowing streams, porous mountains and dancing babies, you're only going to be working against that by encasing your product in plastic shrink wrap. In terms of health benefits, both bottled water and tap water are a good source of essential minerals. However, some research suggests that a bottle of water may not necessarily be better for you than tap water. One study published in the journal PLOS found that nearly 25% of bottled water tested contain levels of microplastics. Additionally, some bottled water brands have been found to contain high levels of fluoride. Most studies that I've seen showed there is minimal difference in the mineral content between tap water and bottled water. I imagine that in our lifetime, based on current trends and the desire to live more sustainably, we may actually see an end to bottled water. Unless that is, the brands step up and make a case for the benefits of bottled water in a much more compelling way. Here's a great example of how some of the brand leaders have tried, but in doing so caused confusion on pack, especially in the hierarchy of communication. Take Volvic, for example. The Touch of Fruit range is a beautiful piece of pack design. It has great shelf standout and is visually appealing and with beautifully crafted logo types, which work really well on a small canvas. The issue is not the pack design, but the product proposition. Rather than try and do one thing well, each product in the range has a competing offering and a different approach to the hierarchy of information. This creates a massive amount of confusion and means that the range is incredibly complicated to navigate. Some are flavour-led, whilst others are further sub-branded vitality and then have an additional function element to them. Working down the label from the top to the bottom on one of the variants reveals 5 levels of hierarchy. First, there is the brand name Volvic, then a touch of fruit, then vitality, followed by the flavour, and then a functional vitamin benefit. Then, if we're not confused enough, is a natural flavours icon. Now, does that mean the flavours are natural or that they taste natural? And then finally, to top it all off, a no artificial sweeteners claim. The strawberry variant swaps out the vitality communication and elevates the flavour up the hierarchy, dragging the sugar-free communication with it. The net result for the consumer is confusion. If they're both fruit flavoured, why is one variant positioned above or differently to the other? Why should one be enhanced with vitamins and the other not? Also, Why should the one be no artificial sweeteners and one sugar-free? Confused? Yeah, me too. A brand should have a single-minded point of difference. If you're trying to go functional, then each item within your portfolio should convey this proposition in a consistent and coherent way. By splitting it and having some as a less credible alternative, it only adds confusion and dilutes down your main point of difference. The case for bottled water, in my opinion, is very thin on the ground. If brands are going to try and create credible offerings, then these need to have a compelling story and obvious functional benefit above and beyond what you get from normal tap water. Maybe consumers have been brainwashed into thinking that bottled water is a necessity. Maybe, just maybe, there's far too much money to be made from the manufacturers for this to go away anytime soon. Things don't always have to make sense when there's money to be made. I opened up my comments section on LinkedIn, and here's what people said.
I have seen a similar study about bottled water, and that nearly every brand contains minimal mineral benefit, and are no better than tap water. If they are committed to the environment and customers are still convinced of its benefits over tap water, maybe they should invest in a refillable station in store and drop the plastic completely.
Completely agree with all of your points, and that bottled water needs to be a thing of the past. There is also the issue of companies literally stealing water from communities around the world and then branding it and selling it back to them at a premium, but that's a much longer topic. Ultimately, what you say is true. There is indeed way too much money to be made in it, which means it won't go away anytime soon.
Tap all the way. We'd do way better by making it available in public places to refill your personal bottle. Instead, folks dive into the supermarket to rehydrate.
Tap water for us. My son does add fizz with SodaStream. We are lucky enough to have a local reservoir on the mountain near where we live. Our water has a very neutral taste. Many areas have chemical tasting water more suited for a pool. I can understand them lugging water home.
Well, that's it. That's a wrap, as they say. I hope you found it informative. If it adds value, then please do subscribe. I'm Al, owner and creative director of Slice Design. You can follow me on my LinkedIn page, which is linkedin.com/in/Alan Gilberty, or you can follow us on our company website, which is slicedesign.co.uk. So until next time, have a fantastic week and keep well.